In this episode of the Hanford Insider, the City of Hanford Community Relations Manager Brian Johnson stops by to update us on the ways the city is working to improve the business climate.
This is the Hanford Insider for Monday, August 28th.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Hanford Insider. I'm your host, Rob Bentley. I'd like to thank everybody for your support of the show. The weather this week is going to be sunny and warm with temperatures in the high 90s to low 100s. This week's Thursday Night Marketplace will feature the music of Motel Drive. Main Street Hanford has a lot of fun events coming up. Visit their website at mainstreethanford.com for more information. Well, as some of you know, the City of Hanford is currently conducting surveys to see what kind of businesses and restaurants residents want to see in town. I thought it would be fun to bring in Hanford's Community Relations Manager, Brian Johnson, to talk about the things the city is doing to expand opportunities here in town. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me, Rob. Excited to be here with you.
Hey, we've got so many things that we could talk about, but let's start with the surveys that the city's putting out there. Seems like everybody wants an Olive Garden, huh?
Olive Garden was one of the top picks in our first round of, I called them retail possibility surveys that we just released the results on, as you just mentioned. Now, here's the funny thing. Olive Garden was number one when you aren't counting the rank in which people voted. And so if you factor in the rank, Chick-fil-A actually takes the number one spot. So Olive Garden was a little surprising to us, but not all that surprising because we've heard talk about it for a while. And we actually know that there's been some interest from Olive Garden, kind of hearing that secondhand. It's a fun way for us to gather the community's input, make them feel like, they have a seat at the table. And we mean that genuinely. We want their input. Hanford has a good amount of amenities when it comes to restaurants and, clothing stores and clothing accessory stores, but we also know there's room for more. And we know that when they look at a market to open up shop in, that there's a variety of factors they consider. But one thing that does go a long ways is the community's desire for them to be here. And so we thought it was a pretty good turnout on the online surveys and, doesn't represent the entire city of Hanford, but certainly is a good snapshot.
So what happens from here? Does the city go out and communicate with these groups? I know it's probably an ongoing process, but how do you express interest to some of these businesses?
Well, I think one of the best things I can talk about is our plans to go to ICSC. That is a big trade organization. Essentially, it's almost like speed dating between cities, counties, other local governments, and companies like the ones we just talked about. Now, I don't know if either of those restaurants are going to be represented at the event we plan to go to in October, but there is a ICSC regional event in San Diego in October. Our city manager, deputy city manager, and I all plan to go. We kind of make up the economic development team here, and then our mayor and vice mayor will also be joining. And so I think that's maybe going to be our first real good opportunity to give our pitch. And as part of that, maybe let them know about the results of these surveys. We definitely plan on that. I will say another thing that we want to introduce to as we tell our story and give our pitch to some of these companies is our rebranding campaign. We're, I guess, really the city of Hanford has never had a branding campaign officially, but, that doesn't mean the city seal is going away, but we are going to have something to complement that, I would say probably within the next month here. And I think that's going to be something that will again, help tell our story and, something we can put on all of our printed materials and so on and so forth.
So going back to this conference in October, is this something that the city's participated in the past, or have they participated in it but not necessarily had the data to back up what they were shooting for?
Yeah, neither, to my knowledge. And I remember when I was in my previous life as a reporter, I remember hearing about ICSC. I think through Visalia, their economic development team, I think had mentioned it to me. It's about the importance of going to some of those conferences and getting in front of those companies and handshakes and networking. Really does go a long way. So, yeah, it's kind of the best of both worlds for us in that we are doing it, A, and B, we do have the data to present to them, mainly from our consultant retail strategies out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, that's going to be a great opportunity for the city. I'm excited to see that they're trying new things to attract businesses because that's what we all want. We want a business district that has restaurants and different businesses to attract shoppers, keep our local tax dollars here at home. So along those lines, when I was growing up in downtown Hanford, man, it was a really happening place as far as Hanford goes. I remember the leaders of Visalia came over to see all the great things that Hanford was doing so they could take back some ideas to Visalia. And, well, we know what happened after that. Brian, Hanford gets accused of not being very business friendly sometimes. So what are some things that the city's doing to be more business friendly and to grow our downtown area?
Well, the first thing I want to mention is our downtown strategic plan that is in draft status right now, but we should have a final report of this downtown strategic plan from the same company I mentioned, Retail Strategies, that has some innovative suggestions and kind of guidelines for us as we look to, keep our downtown vibrant and maintain the historic qualities that everyone loves about downtown Hanford, but also do what we can to make it even more vibrant, whether that's looking at some of those vacant spaces and seeing what we can do with them, whether that's a new business coming in or, at least, like for instance, one thing they suggested was, maybe a wrap on the outside of the windows. And so when people look at it, they don't see an empty shell inside, but they actually see maybe a nice art design and, maybe a QR code. If there is anybody interested in the property, takes them to a site where they can get more information about the property. So there's little things that they're recommending in this plan that all add up to what we think are very reasonable measures that we can accomplish. They've made it clear that this strategic plan for downtown, it's not a bunch of pipe dreams. These are actual things that we can get done and have an impact on the downtown. And so, I wanted to mention that first. When it comes to the idea of business friendly or not business friendly, I think we've heard those complaints over the years. Obviously, some of us here, me, our deputy city manager, our city manager, we only know what we've heard about some of that history. We weren't here for all of it, but what I can say is that we are trying to do everything we can to be as business friendly as possible. I did want to mention as well on the community development side, where our deputy city manager, Jason Waters, leads the team over there. He's going to be working on some things here in the coming weeks and months that will hopefully dispel some of those rumors of Hanford not being business friendly. The plan is for that to include some office hours for people who may have a development that is in the works already or is in its infancy and is just being kind of an idea. They can come in and actually get any questions they have answered and spend some time with our staff one-on-one as opposed to, emails or over the phone. It is nice to be able to work one-on-one. And so I just encourage the business community to stay tuned for those changes. And it kind of goes in line with the city's new work schedule as a whole, starting on September 5th. Most of our frontline staff changing their hours from 7:30 to 5:30 Monday through Thursday, and a half day on Fridays, 8 to noon. And so that also does give business owners and developers and other stakeholders the opportunity to come in earlier in the day and later in the evening, at least Monday through Thursday. So I just wanted to mention those as some things we're working on, again, to be as business friendly as possible.
So, Brian, Hanford seems to have its own field of dreams, if you will, out by 198 and 43. In 2016, when Costco broke ground, we were promised kind of like a River Park type shopping center. And, it seems like it's been a very long wait. Do you have any information for our listeners on how the Hanford marketplace is coming along?
Well, we've had some conversations with the developer, and he wants to see more movement out there just as much as we do. We know that that is one of our kind of opportunity areas that we'd like to focus on when it comes to recruiting more retail commercial development in the city of Hanford. There's a lot to look forward to on the east side of the city, whether it's this major kind of infrastructure improvement project we have planned for East Lacey Boulevard heading out towards Costco, or high-speed rail. It's coming. We don't know exactly when it will be done, but it will be transformative, and we know that there will be growth that comes with that. But one thing that I actually did see come through site plan review, or it's going to be coming through site plan review, is a proposed project out at Hanford Marketplace, and that is a 11,000 square feet approximately single-story medical facility out there. I mentioned that project, that proposed project, because I really do think that something like that could spur more development in the Hanford Marketplace. Anytime you have a medical facility, that comes with a lot of workers, a decent-sized workforce, and they all need places to eat and shop. And, I certainly try and hit Costco on my way home sometimes. So, yeah, that's an exciting prospect. I would encourage the community to just kind of stay tuned on that, but it's a little early to get too excited, but that is promising. And again, we will be we've made an inventory. We'll continue to add to our inventory of available spaces to purchase or to rent here in Hanford, whether it's in the marketplace or other areas of the city. And, we'll have to, when approaching some of these retailers, determine, hey, what might be best for them, and have some of those sites kind of lined up, because we can't just, tell a Olive Garden, we want you here and our people want you here. There is a lot more to it as far as the size requirements and things like that, and infrastructure, things that are above my pay grade, but those are the kind of nitty-gritty details.
We got to get the mayor on it. He brought In-N-Out to Hanford. We got to get the mayor on bringing some of these businesses into town.
So I hear. Well, he'll get his chance at ICSC in San Diego, and so I can't wait to see his recruiting skills. I'm certainly grateful for In-N-Out. I'm a fan.
All right. Hey, Brian, well, this has been fun talking with you about this stuff, and we'll definitely have to check in a few months and see if any of these, especially after this conference in October, it sounds like you have a great opportunity to connect with some of these businesses that we would like to have here in town. So I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I'd also like to give a shout out to all the city staff who's been working hard and kind of turning things around. And the perception of the city is changing. And I just want to thank you and your staff for helping out.
Thanks so much, Rob. I appreciate you saying that. I think there's so many of our employees that are kind of unsung heroes. And in the short time I've been with the city, about a year now, I've met so many great people that, really, really care about what they do and take a lot of pride in what they do, whether that's Parks and Rec or community development or our police and fire, so appreciate you having me on.
Taking a look at our community calendar, the Hanford branch of the Kings County Library is continuing its speaker series on parenting strategies this Saturday, September 2nd from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. with Per Westland, a retired school resource officer. He'll be sharing experiences, views, and expertise on effective parenting. Visit kingscountylibrary.org for more information, as reservations and seating is limited. The Kings Players production of 4 Weddings and an Elvis continues this weekend at the Temple Theater in downtown Hanford. Go to their website at kingsplayers.org for tickets and more information. The Hanford Fire Department is hosting a canned food drive in support of the Salvation Army. Drop off your donations at Fire Station Number 1 on Grangeville Boulevard. I'll be grabbing more events off social media as I see them. If you're part of an organization that needs help getting the word out to the community, let's work together.
And now it's time for Hanford Insider Sports with Eric Bentley.
Time to get you caught up on all of the local sports action, and there was a trio of shutouts in high school football this past weekend. Let's start with Sierra Pacific as they remained undefeated after a 40-0 victory over Hoover on Thursday. They led that game 20-0 at halftime and were able to score 20 points in the fourth quarter to put that game out of reach. The Golden Bears will travel to Woodlake on Friday night and try to keep that winning streak alive. And from one dominant performance to another, let's talk about Hanford High School. They were able to remain undefeated as well as they took down Buhack Colony. Final score of that game, 70-0. And how about this? The Bullpups have outscored their opponents 141-7 throughout the first two games of this season. The Bullpups will be on the road in Visalia on Friday as they take on Golden West. And we'll go to Hanford West. The Huskies unfortunately dropped a tough one as they took on Strathmore. 42-0 was the final score. They will look to get back on track this Friday as they head down south to take on Corcoran. As always, we will keep you up to date on the latest local sports news. And if you are a fan or a coach who wants to have your team featured, please send us an email at hanfordinsider@gmail.com. I'm Eric Bentley, and this has been your Hanford Insider Sports Report.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. If you've missed an episode, you can always go back and listen on the website. There are a lot of different ways to listen to the podcast. Most of you are probably coming here directly from the website at hanfordinsider.com. If you're into other podcasts, you're likely listening through a player like Apple Podcasts or something similar. You can also subscribe to my email list. I'll send out a link to the show for those who request it. Send a subscribe request to hanfordinsider@gmail.com, and there's no charge. It's absolutely free. Help me get the word out about the show by liking and sharing on social media or telling a friend. For more information about the show, you can find this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at Hanford Insider. If you have a show idea, be sure to email me at hanfordinsider@gmail.com. Thanks for listening in. Have a great week.